Hi there, folks. Simon here. This is the 2023 Beginner TAC Tournament of Q2 or April. And this is the Semifinals BLITZ Tiebreaker match between adelta and tymon. We saw that they both won their games as black in the regular matches. And here we are. Here we are with the BLITZ Tiebreaker. And now this is played on the 6x6 board, just like the rest of the games on this tournament. The difference is this is played with 3 minutes on the clock and 5-second increment per move, instead of the normal 15-minute plus 10-second increment. So this is going to be much quicker games, but the first player to win both games in a 2-game match moves on, or win one and draw one, I guess. But that's very uncommon in Blitz and in TAC in general. But anyway, here we go with game one of this adelta versus tymon Blitz match. Adelta in white, tymon in black. And we see opposite corners right off the bat. And going straight into that Knights opening for adelta, going in for that very, very meta opening right now. Black, however, ignoring the opening altogether and playing right into the center. Now, I say white should continue on, and that's what they're doing because they do have momentum here. And they can continue placing, continue working towards that momentum. If they were going to play here at d3 like they did, I feel like a capstone would have been a little bit better. It's right next to black's line. It's in a central location. It follows a lot of the guidelines that we talk about in the capstones video of TAC University. And here it would have proved even better, but now white can drop a capstone right here at C2. Fantastic position for that capstone. This looks really good for white right now in terms of positioning. White has a fantastic position. They're going for both a vertical and a horizontal threat here. Black drops the capstone. That is the best spot for the capstone right now from black. White can continue on. It doesn't matter really where they go. They can play down at C1, at B2. They could even play up at F5 if they wanted to. I think F5 looks pretty good, but C1 and B2 look really good also. It's tough to say. This may bring black's capstone right, but it may bring it down. Down is probably what black wants more because it works for their connection. It'll connect these two here. So now white can start building potentially over here at F2 and go for that vertical. So building at F2 would be the way to go, or I guess F3, but that's not as strong. Now you'll play probably at F1. Now, okay, brings the capstone over first. I guess the idea is to bring over the capstone first to be able to place down an E1 or F1, and then either one makes a threat. Black probably needs to do something preemptive here, though it's difficult to say what that will be. It could be a capture up with E2, a capture up with E2, or bringing the capstone over also works. White can now drop at F1 to make that threat. But will they is the question, because black will likely come up with F2 onto F3 to counter that. White could then build at D3 here, so that is what happened. So I'm thinking a D3 placement makes a lot of sense. It cuts off black from making a connection to those other flats. Instead plays up at D4, surprisingly, allowing black to make that connection. I guess just planning on coming up with that capstone afterwards. Black building down below, filling in. White probably wants to fill in here at C2. Interesting plays here. Interesting plays. Does fill in there at C2. And we look at the players here. They are playing at a good time here, good pace. 2 minutes for each player. Fairly even in terms of time. I would say white has a slightly better position, but black can still come back from this, and they're doing a great job right now. Black is building that foundation to go for this horizontal line. White does not have momentum. Black has momentum here. So black can play at C1, and that will give them a threat right away. Whereas white would need to build at A3 before a threat could be made. If I'm black, I'm looking at C1 here. That feels like the best move. It also sets up to be able to go for a vertical here. And so C1 just, it feels really, really strong here. And that's exactly what Tymon plays after a bit of thinking. White completely missed the threat. Black's able to play at B1 for the road. That is what happens when you play in Blitz. Missing a road threat, incredibly common. Incredibly common because you're thinking so quickly about what to do next that you completely miss the threat that your opponent is making right then. So we will be playing a second game here with Tymon in white and adelta in black. Game 2, Tymon versus adelta. White versus black. And we see right in the corner, and then an offset opening here. Very interesting from adelta, playing that out of the corner spot. And then Tymon going straight for that center control, and then playing up for that vertical line. Which, honestly, with the position of this starting flat, I feel like playing the horizontal here would have made a lot more sense. But goes for the vertical. If you are unused to that, for number one, if you're playing in Blitz, it is easy to kind of get stuck in your ways and not think about something like the opening real quick if this is not what you're familiar with. And so you want to just play quickly so you don't lose out on time. I get that, but sometimes that can come back to bite you. And I feel like this situation is just so strong for white going in the horizontal. But now we see how it might work out in their favor in that white's playing down here at D1. Typically, you'd be seeing a play up here. Now white can play at C1, switch gears. Now that capstone's dropped, white can play at C1. Now they've got this at F2 to be able to go across and make that connection for the horizontal. So this doesn't look too bad. I'm guessing a white capstone. Yep, a white capstone there. That is a great formation. When you got those diagonal, while it might not be as close to the center, that diagonal formation of two opponent pieces where it's part of their main line, that is a huge opportunity for a capstone to drop because that capstone cannot be isolated. And that is a very, very important thing because isolating that capstone can be totally brutal. All right, now here is where I would expect something like maybe white to drop at E1 to sort of fortify that position and bring that along. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Now, again, Tymon did win last game as black. So if Tymon wins this game as white, he does move on to the finals of this tournament. If adelta wins this game as black, then they will play another 2 Blitz games. And it will just continue 2 Blitz games until the end of time or until one of them comes out victorious. All right, white making a placement at F1 and then black making that capture here. Now that's a dangerous capture because this capstone is right there. And so if it comes right, which feels sort of like an inevitable action, it is both continuing this horizontal threat and also threatening this C1 stack, which feels a bit dangerous here. I feel like that white capstone coming right has to happen here. but instead he's placing an A2 first so that when he does come right, he's making a threat. And that threat is that road threat. And so black's going to have to do something to stop the road threat, and white's also going to be able to threaten that stack at the same time. Sure, black can move that stack to the right and cut off both at the same time, but white can come down with this D2 flat afterwards to capture that stack, and it's still in a great spot for him. So black comes down with the capstone preemptively, knowing that white's going to come right with their capstone. Here's where it is. Black, now that black's capstone is here, if black does come right with C1 and white comes down with D2, black can throw this stack down. This is where I expect to see white's capstone to come down on C1 now, however, because that stack came over here. Feels very strong for white to come down. That is what happens. Very close to a Tinue situation here. Black drops the wall, knowing that had to do something to cut this off before it got too far away from him. And that was a smart play. You're behind on flats, sure, but a smart play to be able to cut that off before it got out of your control. White shifting gears, saying, all right, fine, I'll just go for this vertical now that you've got this wall here. Maybe you'll go to the right to stop my vertical play. Black playing there, going for the horizontal themselves. White going straight up. Black playing alongside. White making the threat. Black throws that, or makes that capture with the wall. White makes the threat on the horizontal side right away. Black's thinking, okay, do I come down with this wall stack? They do. White plays here. I'm surprised they didn't play at F2, actually. I feel like F2 would have been a little bit better than E2. Because playing at F2 allows you to make the F6 placement later and throw this capstone across for the smash for the road. And that feels pretty good. White making the play at B2. Surprising. I expected another F1, to be honest, to make this thrash back and forth a bit. But now black can play at F1. Yeah, F1 felt a lot better for white there. I am surprised by that play. Now, white may decide to play over here at F3. Nope, gonna go up ahead. This is tricky because now white can't really play at F3. If white plays a flat at F3, black can play at A4 for the threat. So this isn't looking too bad for black at this point. White should probably play at A4. Now black should definitely play at A4, making that horizontal tag threat. Especially because it's not as straightforward as some threats. And we saw adelta miss a threat in the previous game. So Tymon could be missing a threat in this one. Tymon taking his time here. Does come up, stop the threat, moves with that capstone. Comes up with it, leaves behind a white flat here. Not a threat for white, but still leaves a solid position. Black can continue this threat just by placing at D4. Oh, instead they come up. That's a much stronger play because now white can't even place a wall here because black will be able to smash. White needs to make some sort of capture. Potentially with this capstone, potentially with B3. Either of those would work. This also was a very strong positive flat count differential move. White makes the move with the capstone here. Now, it is important to note, black probably wants to play here at f2 because white wants to play at f2, and this also works towards black making a vertical road, but instead doesn't. That wasn't a threat from black, as far as I'm aware. White should have played at f2 and made their own threat. Now it's a threat from black. White probably needs to come back down with that capstone, and that's what they do. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This capstone stack is maxed out. He can move the whole stack without leaving anything behind. Here's a threat from black going for the vertical. White drops the wall. Not taking any chances there. Both players pretty low on time here. 32 seconds versus 47 seconds. Both sub 1 minute. White comes down with the wall to block that threat. Coming down with the wall, not going to work there. Comes right with E2. That does block off that vertical line. Black can make a capture here, either with 2 F3 down or F1 plus. Doesn't. Instead just drops a flat. This is a threat. Throwing D2. Oh, misses the threat. Black's able to win. Tymon missed the road. Adelta takes game 2. That means we are playing a second game. So congratulations to Adelta playing that little sneaky flat throw there. Congratulations to both players for playing some phenomenal games. Those were really fun. And they do have to play 2 more games. Because they both won on as black. So that was a lot of fun to watch those. Great Blitz games from these beginner players. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, they are wasting no time. They are back in. They've jumped straight into game 3. So here we are. They're going straight in. Jumping straight into the exact same opening, basically, except for this is down here instead of up here, and it's Tymon and white instead of. Oh wait, no, this is the same orientation it was last game. Tymon and white, Adelta and black. Tymon drops that capstone here, ready to cut this off. And honestly, I really like that early capstone from white. I feel like dropping a capstone first as white is a really strong move. And that works out really well for you. And if you can do that before black, you can get a nice little boost there. All right, black playing over here at f2. I'm not exactly sure what that's about. White making the connection over here at f3, though. That makes a lot of sense. They're going for this horizontal when they eventually have to cut off this vertical from black by coming right with the capstone. And black, if they go now with this capstone, move left or move up, they can jump up onto this D3 square, and D3 is essentially the linchpin to all of white's action here. And that would cut things off pretty well. See the E1 placement. White just really establishing a very strong foundation here. Really going for that positioning for later on, not worrying about making a quick threat here. And I think that's a really smart play. Both players doing that, honestly. Because both players could be making a threat just by placing up here at C5 or D5. But they're building out this foundation to be able to make these threats later on. And that is a really smart way to go about this. All right, white comes right with the capstone. Black comes left with the capstone. White fills in immediately. And now that preserves the vertical threat that white's been going for. Also, white still has that horizontal going. This is looking really good for white. White has built up a really strong position here. Black building up above. trying to work on cutting off White's threats here. Really smart plays. White goes for the vertical. Black comes up to stop it. White may be filling in at D2. It feels like they've been kind of prepping for a fill-in at D2. No, instead they're playing up at E5. And I think it might be to stop the horizontal up here with their own vertical threats. But I really like to D2 fill. Maybe I was just thinking too far late in the game. Okay, so now that black is up, black has momentum here. White is behind in terms of momentum. That's why white's playing off here at B4, cutting off that threat a little bit. Black can play up above at C5. That works for connecting to A6 or connecting to A5, making that horizontal threat. Instead, playing over at D3, which works for black's vertical and cutting off white's connections. So smart play there as well. Black comes down with a self-capture. Is that a self-capture? Yeah, self-capture. Interesting play. I wonder what that's about. We may see an E6 or a D6 here. I like an E6, but instead white playing at B2, going to be using that capstone to capture down, make this threat. That's a smart play too. You got this citadel here for white, strong position. Black making the play, white making the threat first. Black wants to make the threat at D4, but can't because he has to stop this, or she has to stop this. Does stop that with a very strong +3 flat count differential move. With that capstone spread, white comes down, blocks. Black's making that threat yet again with that horizontal direction. Playing at D4 would be a road. Strong plays here. If I'm white, I want to capture onto that. Ooh, left behind a flat, however. Ah, smart. Left behind a flat so they could not drop a wall here, so white can capture left with this capstone stack and make that road. Smart play. White, if I'm white, I'm capturing up with E1 here, because that takes it away from the capstone. Oh, no, that doesn't renew the threat immediately. Black's going to be able to do some things. I feel like capturing up with E1 was the move there. Black now making that threat. White completely missed it. Black's able to fill in, go for the road. Adelta wins game 3. This means we've got one more game, at least. Tymon has to win as black. Now, interestingly, these players have won as black in all of their games they've played against each other. So, in both the regular time semifinals games that they played, they each won as black. In both of their first 2 Blitz games, they won as black. In this third Blitz game, won as black. Let's see if Tymon can continue this and win as black, or if Adelta takes it and moves on to the finals of this tournament. So here's game 4. The pressure is on. Tymon has to win this as black. All right, we see that same Knights opening from Adelta here. Adelta likes to play that Knights opening. It is sort of the meta opening right now. Tymon likes to go for this center control, this sort of playing what we used to do as the mirrored opening, what used to be the most popular. Back in the 2021 TAC Open, that was played in almost every game. And now the Knights opening has taken over as sort of the go-to for a lot of folks. And it has become sort of meta. But we'll see how this plays out. White built up this citadel here. Really like that position in the last game. Made sense. A citadel is a strong positioning. Unfortunately, did not work out for Tymon, that citadel last game, but it was a really good position. These Blitz games, in the chat, people talking about how they're exciting, and the board changes so quickly from favoring one player to favoring another. Yeah, it really does. The games go lightning quick, and they're hard to follow, but they're a lot of fun for sure. So we see black dropping this wall here. Interesting to see a wall drop before a capstone. Typically, you don't want to do that. But in this case, I feel like it does make a little bit of sense. However, white's in such a strong position right now. Like, it almost feels like you need another wall now at E1 if you want to hold this off. This citadel position, so strong. Black drops that capstone there. That is a great capstone spot. I feel like there is no better move that black could have made on this turn than that capstone. So white making a threat here. E1 would be a road. Black needs to stop that. Capturing right or up with the capstone would stop it. I feel like going up makes a lot of sense here. It cuts off white's capstone from all of their other pieces. You may have to go right afterwards when white plays here at E6 and then E1. Just drops the second wall instead. Really, really forcing this, saying, I am not losing to a road here. White can play now at D2 and continue this if they want to. If they play at D2, that is another threat. Black will likely have to capture with a wall, maybe coming up with E1 to stop that. If they do, then white can play at C5 and continue for the horizontal up above at the top. They do decide for the D2. That wall comes up right away. Now are we going to see the C6, sorry, not C5, the C6 play from white to continue that. Goes for the C6, shift into the horizontal. Black likely to play here at B5. Makes a lot of sense. That's a good play for black. Now white could play at B6, could play at B4. Goes for the B6. Now this is not a threat for black, but it will be on the next turn when black plays at C2. So I think, yep, white's going to play here at A4. Going to threaten the capture up. Capturing up. Ooh, and we get the citadel from black. The citadel from black. Interesting plays here. I feel like capturing up with A4 was still not that bad. You'd force a capture left from B5, but that citadel position with B4 was really strong, and that really tightened up that position. And so now we've got black coming down with E5, going for this horizontal spot now. And cutting off white from going for that horizontal. This is a really, really interesting one. Huh. So white is pretty far ahead in terms of flats, but black is really playing for position here. Because white's sitting on 11 flats, black's sitting on, I think, 8? Yeah. Black has 8 flats, white has 11. Adelta may be trying to push this to a long game, and if they do, that works. That works. We may see white's capstone come left here onto C5 to cut off this threat. That's exactly what happens. That works out really well. It's building for connections also for the horizontal threats. White should probably come down with C4 here. Or down to C4, sorry. So 2C5 minus would be a horizontal threat and cut off this threat potential for black. Doesn't do that, though. And this coming down will also guard this stack. I'm not sure why they would capture that direction. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to work out for him at all. I feel like that was a bit of a misplay. That D4 right capture onto E4 felt like a bit of a mistake there. Needed to come down with the capstone, I feel. Again, to make that guard and to make that threat. But that wall comes up, captures, and is ready to use that stack. And now the wall's in prime position. White comes left to stop this threat yet again. Also now sort of threatening this stack. Black's making these threats. Black is making a lot of threats here. So white sitting on 9 flats, has attack threat. And black has 8 threats. Or, sorry, 8 flats, not threats. That would be a lot of threats. Not even sure that's physically possible. All right. Adelta getting low on time here, down to 40 seconds. Got to do something to stop this threat. They do capture left, threatening that stack. Also going to be threatening a road on the next turn. Yeah, so white can play at f6 to make this tack threat. But if they do, okay, white drops a wall, sacrificing a little bit of flat game to secure this position. Really shut down black from building this road. Black plays up at f6 to stop white from building that. White's going to be playing with that with that wall stack. Probably going to try and capture onto a4. Just moves. I feel like that capstone might decide to just run away with it now. Yep, and that's exactly what they do. They ran down, capture that stack. Now they can run upwards, make a very strong capstone or flat count move. That could be a plus, let's see, a +5 flat count differential move, which would be absolutely huge and put black back by a ton. So a +5 flat count differential move is just sitting there waiting for white. White doesn't need to make that yet. White can still continue to place flats here and do work that way. Yeah, it's looking really good for white at this point. But it is also important to note white is down below 20 seconds at 15 seconds now. And white has no way to make this horizontal connection up at the top because of this big wall stack. And these 2 black flats. So it's going to be really tough here. Tymon now getting down below 30 seconds on the clock. Low time is a huge killer in blitz games. Let's see what they can do with it. Okay. White makes that move. Gets those flats back. Black not able to make a threat here. Black makes that positive flat count differential move. Goes upwards with that wall stack. White gonna play here at e4, make the threat. I feel like playing at d4 would have been the move here. Instead of that capture, d4 would have been a threat. Throwing that e2 stack upwards. Doesn't go for it, though. Will white drop a wall here? White's got 10 seconds. Ooh, black brings the capstone. This is a threat from black. White misses it. Black can play up. Black makes the capture. Tymon wins as black. That is game 4 of the Blitz games. And it's not over. They need to play another 2 Blitz games. Because they have played 4. And they're still tied up. All right, they have begun, or they have started their seek. We're good to go with game 5 of this Blitz series. Technically, I guess it's game 6 or game 7 overall because of the 2 regular games. But of the Blitz tiebreakers, this is game 5. Starting anew on this new match. Tymon in white, adelta in black. Now, will somebody win as white? They've won as black every other game, so we'll see. We see the opposite corners again, and then Tymon going straight for that center control opening. And they're both going right into that mirrored opening that we saw so much in the 2021 TAC Open. Not so much in the 2022 TAC Championship, but seen a lot in that Open 2 years ago. And we are having the 2023 TAC Open very shortly this year. I don't know when this particular video is going out, but it will be in, I believe, October or November is when the TAC Open will begin. So really exciting time of year. We only get that every 2 years. So a big event. That is our biggest tournament. So let's see. We see some interesting movements with those capstones placed. Solid capstone positions from both players. I think they both worked out pretty well. In terms of positioning, who do I like more here? I think I might like black more. Black sort of isolates white's capstone a bit. White can still capture onto themselves for sure, but doesn't have a black flat to capture onto. And that is a good way to go about things. It also works towards that horizontal threat that black wants to make. So we get white playing at f4 to sort of stop that horizontal line, but also potentially to go for a capture onto e4. Black playing up above at e5 to go for sort of a buffer, and also to continue on that horizontal line or the vertical. Both work, actually, considering that they're connected by that middle central capstone here. So white can move off to the left is what they're going for. They're going to play for this horizontal line, I think, knowing that they've got f4 to come left to cut off that either vertical or horizontal threat. Oh no, white was just playing to guard the vertical, it looks like. Yeah, they had a way, I believe, to regain momentum, but they did not go for it. Instead, they're playing pretty defensively here as white. Black's got not a threat, but you know it's working towards one. Interesting positions. White playing below. I find that fascinating because I feel like f6 is a little more immediate in terms of cutting off black's threat, because black can make a threat by placing at f6 or at e6, but I don't feel like e6 is as strong. e6 feels significantly weaker to me. But I guess now black can play e6 right. Yep. And miss the threat completely. Black can just throw all the way down to f4 with f6. Throws down, boom, that's a road. White completely missed it. Black is... That was such a fast move from white. Maybe it's throwing black off. Black missed it. Black missed the road. They had the win, and they missed it. Potentially thrown off by how quickly white moved there. Black still has a road available, and I have to imagine white saw that after they moved. And black had to have seen it by now. What is white gonna do here? White makes that play to stop the road. Will black capture right onto f6 to make the road threat again? Or will they capture down with e6 to make that threat. No, a wall gets dropped. Oh man, and Adelta's got to be kicking herself right now. Had to have seen that road that they missed. I wonder how that's gonna affect this game in general. Oh man. Okay, I feel like black needs to play at f6 now, but then white's got momentum on the bottom half of the board. All right, black wants to play at f5 here, so white needs to play at f5 to stop that from happening. Because I feel like it's if black plays at f5, it is very close to a Tinue, if not Tinue. Oh, white drops the wall to stop it. That'll do it. That'll do it. Black comes up with that wall, makes the threat, captures those stacks. White comes down with the wall to stop this. Oh, man. Brutal, brutal turn of events here. And that can happen in Blitz. It can happen in any game, really, but Blitz, it'll happen more often than not, more often than other types of games. Things go so quickly. White now not making a threat. Black now making a threat. Now will black play at f6? f6 is a good threat. Now white's probably going to come left with that wall, and sure enough they do. Now black doesn't want to smash on e4 now. So if this wall comes down, does not want to smash there because now white has two flats on d4 and can throw those left and really mess up what black's been going for. But black can play at f5 or at d5 to make that threat. Now black can come left with that wall stack, and they do. Makes that threat. The idea here might be to play at e5, but then white has momentum there. So I was going to say playing at e5 and then c5 for the smash threat. However, white has momentum also this to be able to spread up. White's going to be able to make that threat before black can do anything up there at top. Oh man, if adelta loses this, it's going to be heartbreaking after having the win. Having a road available and just missing it, that is going to be brutal to come back from. Psychologically. And that the psychological aspect is a real part of this this game, especially right now in Blitz. Okay, black comes left with the wall stack. This is attack threat, being able to smash that wall at d5. Oh, comes left the wall, opens this up. Black can play, black wins. Adelta does take this one. Whew, I would have felt so bad if Adelta lost that game after having the road. Oh, man. But Adelta does come back, wins that one. That's got to be a psychological boost. Losing it would have been devastating, I'm sure, and would have really, really rocked their chances for the following game. But we have noticed, yet again, this is game 5, and black has won yet again. So we will be jumping into game 6, the second game of this this third Blitz match, to see how this turns out. Tymon will be in black, adelta will be in white. We'll see if adelta can win as white, and if they do, they will go on to the finals of this beginner tournament of Q2 2023. Here we are with game 6. All right, I feel bad for rooting for a player, but I am going to root for adelta just because that means that these end. Because I got stuff to do. All right, we see adelta just going for that same night's opening. However, you got to wonder, adelta, you've done this same opening, and Tymon's done this same opening. I see you switching it up, though. The last few games, and you've never won as white, so maybe switch it up, and that's exactly what they're doing, switching it up by playing over there at D3. Will we see white drop maybe a capstone at B3? A capstone at B3 seems really good to me. Now a capstone at B4 also seems pretty good to me. Yeah, drop that capstone white, I think, at B3. No, because then black's going to shift gears for that horizontal, and it's going to be really good for him. This looks pretty good for black in terms of positioning. It looks really good. A white may need to drop a capstone at C5. Nope, does drop it at B3. I think C5 might have been the best play there, to be honest, which is surprising that a capstone at C5 would have been best, but I think that it would have been. The capstone might have been isolated, but I think that it would have worked out overall. Oh, and we saw some interesting. We didn't see C5 played from black after that, which I feel like would have been the obvious play. And now white's coming over with that capstone, threatening that stack at C4. Black's going to want to throw that somewhere to spread it out. Now, white's just going to play. Make this road threat. There's nothing that black can do except for playing a wall or a flat at A3. Literally no other play. So black's just got to think, okay, do I wall or do I flat at A3? Because that's the only play here. Wall or flat. Wall or flat. Goes for the wall. Smarter play. Let's see what white does here. Do they play down at B2? Do they play up at B4? Do they play somewhere else? This is an interesting position here. Goes for the B2. Will black now move that A3 over is the question. No, they play the flat. Will now white play at B1 or at B4 or at A1? Goes for the B1. White just going to continue making these tack threats. Never mind. Not going to continue making these tack threats. This is not a threat. Now black has some room to do something like bring the capstone down or drop a wall at like E2. I feel like that would be a very safe play, dropping a wall at E2, but it would also probably work out the best for him in the long run just because white's got such a powerful position down there. It's basically uncontested. So now white's going to play at D2. Got to be making that B1 left move here pretty soon. You got to imagine that's what's going to happen. B1 left is, I believe it comes out to be Tinue. So if black does not do something over here, okay, they do. They drop the wall. That does keep this from being Tinue with the B1 left. I'm pretty sure, at least. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does. Because that C3 wall can now come to the right. White's going to build up the Citadel first. Oh, no. This is Tinue. Yep. White has won. Adelta has won this. Because now the move is to come right with A2. And then white comes down with B3. And that's Tinue. There's no stopping it. Wow. Adelta plans this Tinue setup out. Gets it to work. Tymon missed it. This is going to result in adelta winning game 6. And that means adelta will move on to the finals of this beginner TAC tournament of 2023, Q2. Black resigned, knew it was Tinue, just gave up, said, you know what, you got it. You took it. Congratulations. So congratulations to adelta for winning game 6 and moving on to the finals. And that goes to going to be facing up against Name of Stone in the finals of this tournament. We saw some phenomenal play from both of these players, like really, really great for a beginner tournament especially. Really fantastic. Both of these players, I have a feeling we're going to be seeing them quite a bit in the future. So keep an eye out for them in the intermediate tournaments that we have going on. I think next year we've got one coming up. And then in the TAC Open that we've got later on this year. And potentially even in the 7x7 Open that starts actually today when we're recording this. So congratulations to adelta for winning. And well played to both players. Honestly, Tymon, you did fantastic. Really, really great play from both guys. Both players, sorry. Anyway, so that is all for today. Thanks for watching. And check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of TAC resources. Lots of people to play with, lots of strategy guides, lots of stuff. You can play with people here on playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord server itself. You can play one move a day if you want to. Anyway, that is all, and thanks again for watching, and until next time, have a great day, and happy tacking.